You probably think your beliefs are your own. Your ideas about freedom, about right and wrong, about success, love, truth, and meaning. But most of them were shaped centuries ago by people you've never met, whose names you barely remember. Tonight, I want to introduce you to 10 philosophers whose ideas still quietly govern modern life. Not as heroes, not as saints, but as forces. 1. Socrates, 469 to 399 BC. Socrates left behind no writings. Everything we know about him comes from others, mostly his students. He wandered Athens asking questions that made people uncomfortable. Questions about virtue, justice, and whether anyone truly knew what they claimed to know. His most famous idea was brutally simple. The unexamined life is not worth living. Socrates believed ignorance wasn't shameful, pretending to know was. For corrupting the youth and challenging authority, he was sentenced to death. He drank the poison calmly. Every time you question assumptions, authority, or yourself, you're standing in Socrates' shadow. 2. Plato, circa 428 to 348 BC. Plato was Socrates' student and deeply traumatized by his execution. He became obsessed with one question: how can a society kill its wisest man? Plato argued that the world we experience is not reality itself, but a shadow, an imitation of deeper truths. His most enduring image is the cave. How could they see anything but the shadows if they were never allowed to move their heads? Plato shaped political theory, education, metaphysics, and the idea that truth is often hidden. Every debate about illusion, media, and reality owes something to Plato. 3. Aristotle, 384 to 322 BC. Aristotle studied under Plato and then quietly disagreed with him. Where Plato looked upward toward ideals, Aristotle looked outward toward the world. He studied plants, animals, logic, ethics, and politics. He believed a good life wasn't about perfection, but balance. His central insight: we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. Modern science, ethics, and self-discipline trace directly back to Aristotle. He reminds us that character isn't declared, it's built. 4. Confucius, 551 to 479 BC. Confucius lived in a time of chaos and social breakdown. Rather than chasing abstract truths, he focused on relationships between parents and children, rulers and citizens, individuals and society. He believed order begins with personal conduct. One of his most enduring lines: "Respect yourself and others will respect you." Confucian thought still shapes East Asian culture, education, and social values. Where Western philosophy asks what is true, Confucius asked, how should we live together? 5. René Descartes, 1596 to 1650. Descartes decided to doubt everything, deliberately. He doubted his senses and his memories, even mathematics, until he reached one thing he couldn't doubt: I think, therefore I am. From this single statement, modern philosophy and science were born. Descartes split mind and body, launching centuries of debate about consciousness, identity, and reality. Every conversation about artificial intelligence or the self still echoes Descartes' doubt. 6. Immanuel Kant, 1724 to 1804. Kant lived an astonishingly uneventful life. He never traveled far from home. He followed the same routine daily, so precisely that neighbors set their clocks by him. Yet his thinking reshaped morality itself. Kant argued that morality isn't about pleasure or results, but duty. His guiding principle: act only according to that maxim whereby you can will that it should become a universal law. Human rights, dignity, and moral responsibility rest heavily on Kant's ideas. He asked not what benefits you, but what you owe. 7. Karl Marx, 1818 to 1883. Marx spent much of his life poor, ill, and dependent on friends. Yet his ideas shook the world. He believed economic conditions shape consciousness, not the other way around. His most quoted line is still unsettling. The philosophers have only interpreted the world. The point, however, is to change it. Whether admired or criticized, Marx permanently altered how we talk about power, class, labor, and inequality. You don't have to agree with him to be influenced by him. Friedrich Nietzsche, 1844 to 1900. Nietzsche wrote like a man on fire, brilliant, poetic, and unstable. He believed modern life had killed its own values, but hadn't replaced them. His most famous declaration, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." Nietzsche warned of nihilism, a world without meaning, and challenged people to create their own values. He collapsed mentally in his 40s and spent his final years silent. Modern individualism, rebellion, and existential anxiety bear his fingerprints. 9. Jean-Paul Sartre, 1905 to 1980. Sartre believed there is no built-in meaning to life, no destiny and no script. His core idea was terrifyingly simple. Man is condemned to be free. You are responsible, not just for your actions, but for who you become. Excuses are comforting, freedom is not. Modern ideas about authenticity, identity, and personal responsibility flow directly from Sartre. 10. Michel Foucault, 1926 to 1984. Foucault wasn't interested in truth itself. He was interested in who decides what counts as truth. He studied prisons, hospitals, schools, sexuality, and surveillance. His insight was sharp and unsettling. Knowledge is not for knowing, knowledge is for cutting. Foucault showed how power hides inside institutions, norms, and language. If you think about social control, conformity, or invisible systems, you're already thinking like Foucault. Closing reflection. These thinkers didn't give you instructions. They shaped the questions you ask, often without you realizing it. Your ideas about freedom, morality, work, love, and identity didn't appear by accident. They were inherited. The question isn't whether these philosophers influence you, it's whether you've noticed. Which of these thinkers do you think still shapes modern life the most? And which one do we misunderstand? Let me know in the comments. And if you value quiet thinking in a loud world, subscribe to Philosophers.